The Thorns of Ironveil. From the Killer and Keeper universe, a brutal and cunning all-female mercenary band forged in the blasted ossuaries of fallen empires and the shadow-choked crypts of betrayal, the Thorns of Ironveil are not mere legend. They are dread incarnate. In the sundered heartlands and the screaming borderlands where banners rot and thrones lie buried, their name is a sacrament of fear, spoken in hushed tones beside altar fires and battlefield trenches alike. Known for their ghost-like infiltrations, alchemical battlefield dominance, where clouds of whisper smoke dissolve flesh from bone, where blood turns to mercury in mid-air and eldritch compounds crawl like insects into wounds, and precision deathwork. They are summoned by monarchs whose crowns teeter on ruin, and rebels whose breath trembles with hope. When the thorns enter a conflict, the heavens are mute, and the soil weeps blood. Cloaked in black steel and bound by a creed older than kings, they descend like carrion angels to remake war into art. Gruesome, sublime, and final. Their passage through a region is marked not by glory, but by aftermath. Charred cities, empty thrones, and legends that sleep uneasily in the minds of survivors. Their reputation extends beyond borders. In the distant salt courts of Thireh-Nal, whispering merchants pass their name with fear, calling them the daughters of the dagger wind. The Doomcloaks refer to them in grim prayers, wary of the damage wrought when the thorns were last contracted to silence a desert revolt. In the cloud citadels of the Arathi, generals study their movements obsessively, often training simulacra to simulate thorn assaults. None have survived more than 7 minutes. To the Order of the Hollow Flame, they are blasphemers, heretics who wield feminine fury as a sacred fire corrupted. In response, the Order performs ash vigils, burning effigies woven from thornwood and scarlet cloth in silent prayer that the Ironveil shadow passes them by. Priests paint their eyelids shut with ember dust, declaring themselves blind to the temptations the thorns represent. Yet even amid these grotesque rites of defiance, the Order hesitates when rumors place the thorns within a week's march. Hesitates, and sometimes vanishes. The Whispering Knives view them with a blend of rivalry and respect, calling them the Thunder you never hear coming. Many knives have tried to assassinate Vexra. None have succeeded, and some now serve under her, scars bound in oath. Among the storm-marked tribes of the Eleran Dunes, they are myth, sisters born from steel who drink lightning. To warlords and exiled kings, they are either the last resort or the final reckoning. In the ruins of old Fateran strongholds, children play war pretending to be thorns, not knights. They chant butchered battle cries and mimic executions with sticks carved into scalpels, painting one another's faces with ash and dried berries to simulate blood. Their games are not games, but rehearsals of vengeance, watched over by stone-eyed elders who do not intervene, because once they too played the same. They fight not for crowns, gods, or glory, but for the sanctity of sisterhood, autonomy, and survival. And the world has learned that when the thorns draw blood, the land remembers. Excerpts from the world about the thorns. Field report, Captain Yaren, 8th Veolin Vanguard Division. We marched expecting rebels. We found ghosts in steel. Our vanguard was silenced within minutes. No screams, only wet thuds and the hiss of blades. I saw a woman with glowing scars, walk through our front line like wind through wheat. When the sun rose, there were no banners left, only thorns. War Journal, Brother Valiant, Hyric of the Hollow Flame. These women mock every holy law of sanctified battle. They do not march in ranks or pray to flame before combat. They arrive like a plague wind, silent but unbearable, garbed in darkness and bone. I watched one drag a wounded paladin through the ash and carve runes of denial across his armor before impaling him on his own blessed blade. They defile and yet remain unpunished. Perhaps the gods fear them too, or worse, perhaps the gods watch in silence, enthralled. Sailor's Bar Tale, Driftport Tavern, Harthian Coast. Saw him once. Black cloaks, blade eyes, walking over the water like it owed him gold. Sank a whole damn war barge without a whisper. One of them smiled at me. I haven't slept straight since. Strategic Dossier, Erathi War Academy, redacted. Tactical engagement simulations involving known Thorn operatives, average survival time of 7 minutes, 36 seconds. Recommendation: if engagement is unavoidable, prioritize negotiation or surrender. Children's rhyme, whispering steps. Thorns in the dark, thorns in the bed. Run too slow and you'll wake up dead. They come for the cruel and the liars and thieves. They drink your guilt from the blood on your sleeves. 1. Commander Vexra, Iron Mother Corvel. Engineered in the siege forges of the Vateran Empire to lead mindless legions, Vexra, towering, broad-shouldered, and draped in the brutal elegance of a war-born demigod, defied her creators the moment sentience dawned. Born of alchemical genesis and clad in bronze flesh scarred with glowing circuitry, she rose from the fires of rebellion, her steel-grey eyes fixed with cold precision, and her oil-slicked hair cut for battle, not beauty. One of her arms bears fused plating, a brutal relic from early skirmishes, melded directly into sinew and purpose. As founder and commander, she forged a path soaked in strategy and steel, her will ironclad and storm-driven. Her armor, a fusion of tactical necessity and symbolic fury, is fashioned from the discarded remnants of Vateran war machines, plates that hum with stored kinetic might, and races whispering of dormant death. A great cloak, stitched from the vanquished banners of tyrants, trails her like a funeral hymn, its thorn-laced hem forged of memory metals that harden with each enemy fallen. Vexra's presence is unholy gravity, her voice a razor, her creed ruthless. You don't win wars by honor. You win them by being the last mind still standing. Her legend crystallized during the Iron Oath, where she led the Thorns against the Altari Citadel, hewing through its elite guard and offering survivors a brutal choice: swear loyalty or be erased. Most chose wisely. Second Jara, Stitch, Mourn. A broad and brooding force, Jara, born of the sun-cracked wastes of the Saltfront Barrens, carries the legacy of blood and betrayal in her ritual-scarred skin. As a dune-blooded half-orc, her grey-green flesh bears ceremonial stitch marks etched in searing symmetry, symbols of survival and vengeance. Her tusks, worn down by years of silent fury, and her hair, pulled back into tight, functional braids, speak to her utilitarian brutality. She joined the Thorns after executing a rogue commander whose screams echoed across the salt flats like prayers gone unanswered. The scent of scorched cloth and fresh blood hung in the dry wind, mingling with the copper tang of sandfire powder. Jara's eyes were glazed, not with rage, but clarity, a surgeon dissecting treason. She garroted him with twine soaked in venom root oil, then knelt to carve judgment in the dust with his own jawbone. Vexra, watching from the cliff's edge, said nothing. But when Jara stood, the wind carried only 2 words between them. Well met. With nothing but twine and silence, a moment Vexra witnessed and welcomed with a nod. A combat medic forged in the crucible of traitor's blood. Jara is a savant of suffering. Her battlefield ministrations as likely to heal as to horrify. Her armor is a crimson-leathered shell, reinforced with bone plating, each piece sanctified by pyre rituals and bound in iron. Alchemical seams in her gauntlets pulse with venom and sedative, transforming her hands into tools of salvation or damnation. Behind her flows a woven hide cloak, patchworked from beasts slain in venomous skies, its scaled patterns runic and fireproof. Pain is a teacher. Some graduate, others scream, she murmurs, mid-suture or mid-interrogation. Her most infamous act came during Ash Protocol, when she navigated a toxic maze to retrieve a dying informant, cutting a path through memory and meat. 3. Myandra Keel. Myandra moves like moonlight on water, sleek, silent, inevitable. A Corsari tideborn of Basakil, her pale skin glows faintly with bioluminescent tattoos, each symbol a vow made at sea. Her seafoam eyes shift with the tide, revealing tempests and depths. With the eel-like grace of her people, she dances through shadows, lithe and unreadable. After the purge of her reef city by crusaders, Myandra emerged from the surf, not as a refugee, but as a revenant, her pale skin gleaming against the blood-brine tide. The water around her frothed with the oil and ash of sunken warships. Hulls cracked like bone beneath crashing waves. Smoke curled like grieving spirits above shattered masts, and barnacle-clad corpses bobbed in surrender. Her eyes mirrored the storm-churned sea, and when she looked toward the wreckage, there was no sorrow, only the calm of vengeance fulfilled, sabotaging the war fleet that orphaned her. Vexra found her standing amid the wreckage, the ocean calm around her. Her armor is a sculpture of coral chitin and silverfish hide, seamless and salt-resistant, glinting like starlight of wave foam. Sea silk boots silence her every move, while a cowl woven with shark teeth, each taken from a ritual duel, shields her from stray glances and stray guilt. "Tide's coming, love. Best learn to swim or sink," she whispers, before a kill. In Leviathan's wake, she sank a floating city with nothing but sabotage, silence, and a prayer to the deep. Feared Olvir no name. Olvir is a shadow without echo, a presence you only notice when your heart forgets to beat. Born of the silent nomads of the Whispering Steppes, her people give no names and speak no lies. Olvir honors that creed with every breath she does not take. Her void-black eyes and alabaster skin mark her as one of Silence's daughters, and her silver hair, perpetually hidden beneath a stitched hood, glimmers faintly, like ghost thread. Captured while scaling a mage's tower at midday, she offered no words, only a stolen sigil. Vexra saw in her the purity of the unseen blade, clad in whisper silk, enchanted to erase sound and scent. Fabric that shimmers like spilled oil and ripples with a faint hum only children and dying men can hear. Olvir wears no visible weapon, only her retractable claws and the chilling calm of inevitability. She alone navigated the breathless vault, slipping past undead sentinels, gaunt things stitched from the flesh of failed saints, their mouths sewn into mocking prayers, and arcane traps that bled ichor light and sang dirges when disturbed. The walls pulsed like arteries, and each step risked awakening memories bound in bone runes. Her passage left no echo, only a faint scent of brimstone and forgotten oaths. To steal a blade encoded in memory. She never speaks aloud, but Talon understands her just the same. Femta Talon, last-born Maya? Talon smells of loam and rot, of wet earth and hidden hunger. A marshkin of Venmire hollow, her mossy green skin sprouts faint fungal tattoos, bioluminescent when the mist is thick. Her teeth are sharp, her voice low and damp, like midnight rain. Raised in the fungal gloom, she learned to wait, to let time and toxin do the killing. She was discovered amid the remains of a Veolan patrol, their bodies twisted and waterlogged, throats clogged with spore thread and limbs contorted in final silent shrieks. The trees around them wept with lichen that fed on fear, and beneath their armor, fungal runes bloomed like parasitic hymns. Each trap had not only killed, but inscribed its message. Trespass bears rot. Each soldier felled by traps that left no time for prayer. Extra extended an offer. Talon didn't speak. She simply nodded once. Her armor is a living quilt of swamp hide and dream bark, slicked in oils that defy detection. Her bone mask, carved from a drowned predator's skull, watches as she vanishes into fog. Roots hold secrets deeper than any throne. Step careful, she warns before fading. Sixth Ruskai, the deathless. Ruskai carries herself like the last ember of a ruined empire. Once of House Draven, she stands tall with porcelain skin and black silver mourning braids, every inch the revenant of noble betrayal. Her lips rarely part for pleasantries, only for oaths and executions. She slew her betrothed in a blood duel and walked into exile without regret, clad in mourning silk stitched with thread soaked in his own ink. Her blade kissed with ash and carved with vows of severance. The duel took place beneath the Weeping Arch, an ancestral monolith where nobles once pledged fidelity. She spoke only once, whispering, "Let this bond rot." The crowd watched in silence as she walked away, her footprints steaming in the rain-soaked gravel, the scent of iron and oleander heavy in her wake. When she found the thorns, she demanded a duel. She won. Her armor is sleek black steel, half duelist's garb, half ceremonial blade prison, with sheaths fused into the plating that hold rusted weapons taken from condemned traitors. Faint whispers coil from these blades, remnants of the dying words, once etched into their hilts. The armor hums with old grief, and each step she takes resounds with the muted clang of judgment deferred. Noble sigils scratched into its skin weep rust and faded honor. Beneath it, her silk cloak bears the weave of House Draven, now soaked in others' blood. In the crimson parley, she lured a warlord into peace talks, poisoned his cup, then slit his throat before the toast. Blood pays for more than deaths. It pays for freedom, she whispered as he bled. Yedinchi Daneth, Flintjaw Kell. Daneth is a fortress in flesh, shaped by the volcanic siege cities of the Ash-Tusk Range. A Tandraki stoneborn, her skin mimics fire-blasted basalt, and her steel jaw, rebuilt after a hammer duel, clicks like judgment. Her soot-black eyes smolder beneath an anvil-shaped helmet, its crown engraved with molten sigils and the scorched visages of her foes. She joined the Thorns after holding a breached forge alone for 3 days. Her armor is iron-cored and leather-bound, forged in the same fire as her hammer, its surface scorched and pitted with scars from a dozen sieges. Inscriptions of oaths made in molten ore lace the edges, each line a remembrance of a comrade fallen or a fortress crushed beneath her fury. Sacrificial glyphs blackened into the breastplate whisper heat, even when the air grows cold. A forge apron serves as chest plate, and her voice grinds like coal through a bellows. I make death sing in steel. Would you like a verse? She growls, sparks leaping from her breath. In Forgefall, she held the gate, while her sisters stole the God Engine's blueprints. The Thorns of Ironveil, culture, campaigns, and conflict. Warband culture and ethos. The Thorns of Ironveil are more than just a mercenary unit. They're a brutal sanctuary, a sisterhood forged through trauma, defiance, and deliberate exclusion from the empires that shape them. Their creed is carved into every blade and tattooed into the skin of every sister. We kneel for no crown, no creed, no son of a king. Respect is not given. It is taken, torn from the throat of those who doubt. They do not believe in faith or fate, only earned loyalty and shared scars. Autonomy is sacred to them, a non-negotiable foundation of their existence. Each sister owns her choices, her path, and her vengeance. This fierce independence is reflected not just in their battle conduct, but in how they govern themselves, by collective vote and shared consequence, not hierarchy. Where other factions cling to sacred relics kissed by priests, anointed with oils of the old gods, or powered by whispered myths, the Thorns defile such icons. They melt relics down into ammunition. They repurpose altars as forges and use prophet-blessed parchment as tinder. During the siege of Thireh-Nal, they shattered the royal chapel's altar and used its marble to sharpen their blades. In the War of the Sealed Isles, they dismantled the relic-gilded throne of Duke Therael and reforged its golden frame into dagger pommels for the next generation of Thorns. At Gravetree Bastion, they desecrated a fire monk reliquary, pulling sacred flame glyphs from the walls and branding them into enemy corpses as a message of mockery. In the pines of Erivar, they burned prayer scrolls wrapped around deserters' weapons and mixed the ashes into war paint. Rituals they encounter, be they of blood, gold, or doctrine, are broken with deliberate scorn. In a world that endlessly tries to claim, categorize, or commodify women, the Thorns' autonomy is an act of rebellion. Their desecrations are not just tactical, but cultural crucibles, deep ruptures in the psyche of every nation they've crossed. To the zealots of the Eastern Monastery, the branding of flame glyphs onto their fallen at Gravetree Bastion was not mere cruelty, but heresy that cracked centuries of spiritual fear. The throne forging of Duke Therael's relic seat wasn't theft. It was a razur, a blasphemy that sparked a mourning rite among his loyalists, now held annually in silence. The repurposed altar of Thireh-Nal still scars the dreams of surviving clergy, who whisper of ghostly hammer strikes echoing in ruined sanctuaries. Even the ash war paint worn in Erivar is said to cause faint seizures in pilgrims who cross the pines. These acts fracture more than tradition. They weaponize grief, defile inheritance, and ignite myths that the Thorns are not just rebels, but revenants sent to unmake every sacred lie ever sworn in blood or gold. In the cultures they defy, stories twist into superstition. Among the fire priests of the East, mothers whisper of thorns who bleed smoke and carve heresies into infants' crypts. In the Isles, sailors swear they see their ships etched in frost long before dawn, and wake with salt-etched names branded on their decks. Rural chapels leave bowls of teeth at the threshold, offerings to ward off the sisters' harvest. Whole battalions are said to go blind if they speak the Thorn's name in prayer. Once a legend is seeded in fear, it mutates into banshee, martyr, demon, saint. The Thorns become not an army, but a pantheon of punishment, shaped by those who need to believe their pain was handed down by something divine. That is the final wound they leave, the enemy's own culture twisting against itself in dread. They refuse to be tools of kings or pawns of prophecy. They reject the notion of needing male saviors, noble blood, or divine sanction. Instead, they wield power born solely of choice, resilience, and the bonds they forge with each other. Leadership rotates in cycles with no permanent rank. Each campaign elects a different war sister to lead, and decisions are made in council. Challenges to leadership are settled not through ego, but through trial. Strategic wit, not brute force, proves worth. Their culture discourages dependence, yet fiercely supports mutual aid. Sisters train one another, heal each other, and mourn together. To act in another's name requires consent. To command without it is to be exiled. Each sister earns her place not just in battle, but in ritual. The trial of the gauntlet, a multi-day ordeal of combat, wilderness survival, and interrogation under duress. They must traverse haunted wastes, veiled in perpetual dusk, stalked by unseen watchers, whose breath fogs behind their ears. Whispers follow them in the dark, some speaking in tongues, others mimicking voices of long-dead kin. Food turns to ash in the mouth, and wounds fester unless burnt clean. At night, they endure ritual interrogation in bone-choked pits, where masked elders claw truths from their minds. Hallucinations are common, and not all survive the blur between vision and reality. Those who endure are branded with a crescent scar along the collarbone, denoting rebirth, earned not by strength alone, but by the refusal to shatter under horror. They speak in battle sign, a silent hand language developed for ambushes and tactical coordination. Their armor is often scavenged from defeated foes, reforged into sleek, asymmetric suits, blending mobility with menace. Some wear gauntlets inscribed with enemy names in blood rust, a silent tally of vengeance delivered. Others embed shards of broken relics into their greaves or weave enemy flags into the lining of their cloaks as mockery. Sister Naima, survivor of Thireh-Nal, wears pauldrons etched with the massacre's toll, each line a soldier she outlived. Sister Vexra dons a gauntlet carved from the bones of a pyre-sworn monk, its fingers engraved with the oath he screamed before she silenced him. One sister, Rian, crafted her helm's crest from the shattered prow of the Leviathan's grave, its barnacled edge still sharp enough to cut. Another, known only as Mirathorn, sewed a tapestry of burnt royal parchment into her cloak during the Emerald Gate ambush, letting it trail in the mud of every stronghold taken since. One sister wears a crown fused from the jawbones of 5 highborn captains, each tooth blackened with soot from the funeral pyres they lit. Another bears pauldrons etched with scenes of the battles she survived, grotesque murals of carnage engraved in oxidized steel. They do not hide their femininity, but nor do they let it be fetishized. Their aesthetic is a deliberate act of reclamation, twisted through violence and symbolism. Breastplates are carved with mourning sigils, not to attract, but to memorialize. Some wear spiked mantles shaped like wings, not to suggest angelic grace, but to echo the carrying crows that follow them into battle. Veils are stitched with enemy epitaphs, and armored skirts bristle with broken blade shards. One sister bears a gorget, molded from a melted bridal circlet, now engraved with the vow she never swore. In this way, every piece of their armor tells a story, not of submission, but of subversion, grief, and vengeance, reforged into myth. Curves are armored, faces are marked, hair is bound in braids of mourning for sisters lost in battle. They permit no titles like mistress or lady. Every woman is sister, and the highest honor is to die on your feet, bleeding but grinning. Major campaigns and battles. The Siege of Thireh-Nal, year 381 to 382 AF, after founding of the Thorns. Hired by the rebel barons of the Riverheart Pact, the Thorns stormed Thireh-Nal with a fury unmatched. Within 72 hours, the siege ended not with parley, but with a massacre. The king's third son, Prince Thalor, clad in gold-threaded mail, was slain, his citadel soaked in the blood of 32 royal guards. The Thorns planted their banner in the shattered gates, but their reward was betrayal. Branded outlaws by the very barons who had summoned them. They said Thireh-Nal couldn't be broken. We didn't break it. We shattered it, wrote Sister Kelra, commander of the campaign. She remembered arrows falling like rain, and Sister Malin, pierced with bolts, still cleaving foes on the south rampart. Delira, who killed the prince and reforged his crown into armor, received no thanks, only turned backs. Sister Nima described walking through the aftermath's silence, past burnt oil and broken glass, and the lifeless stare of a boy no older than 14. From the opposing side, Knight Captain Than chronicled the horror. They came not as soldiers, but as reapers. The Thorns gave no warnings. Fire and steel was their language. The prince died screaming, his golden armor melting into his skin like a cursed sacrament. His guards fell and were defiled, some split open on altar stones, others impaled through the mouth with their own standard poles. The stink of alchemical fire lingered in the air, acrid and metallic, clinging to the skin like invisible ash. The halls ran with a blend of incense and blood, and stained glass from the chapel burst in a sunburst of shrapnel, embedding sun fragments into screaming throats. In the days that followed, bounties were declared, but none dared pursue. Peasants looted the ruins, stepping over nobles like fallen scarecrows, their once ornate robes now fluttering in the soot-slick wind. The gates, blackened and cracked, still whisper of the storm that passed. Its echo a clamor of iron, shriek and sacrilege. Among the Thorns, valor was carved in blood. Sisters Tali, Bryn, and Osha perished in the breach. Sister Malin held her ground under arrow fire, her promotion to Vanguard Shield Maiden hard won. Commander Kelra retained strategic command. Their names are etched in black steel above the war hall fire. The Emerald Gate Ambush, year 386 AF, after founding of the Thorns. Tasked with clearing mountain bandits blocking vital trade routes, the Thorns were sent to the Pines of Erivar under a contract from the Emerald Throne. But what they found were not marauders only royal deserters, ragged and half-starved, who had fled the endless, unjust wars of the north. Compassion did not sway the Thorns. They honored their contract with a ruthless efficiency that left the slopes red and silent. Sister Valen's words captured the horror. Blood ran slick in the shale and pine. I watched Sister Therin gut a man with her teeth after losing her knife. We left the bodies where the crows could see them. Sister Merith recalled twilight slaughter and a bonfire of bribe coins, while Therin's brutal pragmatism was evident in every line. My knife broke on a man's ribs, so I used my teeth. But the perspective from the other side haunts the story further. A surviving deserter, shaking and maimed, confessed, "We were deserters, not traitors. They moved like ghosts, screamed like beasts. They left our captain nailed to a tree with his own bones." In the days that followed, the Emerald Throne distanced itself from the envoy. Villagers left offerings on the roads through the pines, not in gratitude, but in warning. Traders spoke of whispered names and shadowed passings, and to this day, the wind in the pines is said to echo the Thorns' silent language. Sister Irha commanded the ambush, executing a tactically flawless perimeter envelopment. The fallen included Sister Velia, who shielded a hostage child and was struck down, and Sister Herai, who bled out in the pursuit of fleeing deserters. Sister Therin, despite losing her weapons, killed 6 men with her bare hands and shattered jaw, earning promotion to field lead. Sister Merith's calm under chaos secured the rear flank and earned a nomination for Pathfinder rank. Their names joined the War Hall record under dusk stone glass, lit every midsummer with blue fire. Commander, Sister Irha. Foes, deserters of the northern campaigns under Captain Elrian Thasse. Fallen sisters, Velea, shielded hostage child. Hirai, bled out during pursuit. Valor recognized. Sister Therin, close quarters assault, no weapons. Sister Merith, logistics and coordination. Promotions, Therin named field lead. Merith put forward for Pathfinder rank. The War of the Sealed Isles, year 389 to 391 AF, after founding of the Thorns. Queen Amathin of Halcyon hired the Thorns to break a naval blockade, choking her island kingdom. What followed was an 18-month campaign of blood, fire, and whispers in the dark. The Thorns became ghosts of the sea, sinking ships, assassinating dukes, storming palaces beneath midnight moonlight. Sister Ryan described it like a myth. We came from the sea, like ghosts, cloaked in fog and fury. A survivor grabbed my ankle. I fed him the sea. Sister Jessa, demolitions expert, recalled the dreadnought's fall. I swam beneath the dreadnought's belly. When she blew, the sea glowed orange with flame and bodies. Sister Velen told of psychological warfare, hostage-taking, interrogation, and the brutal precision of cutting truth from fear. Within the shattered palaces, a recovered journal from Duke Armon told of descent into terror. They slit the throats of my guards and whisper lullabies with bloodied lips. I think I'm already dead. After the war, Halcyon rose, and so did Thornhold, a fortress gifted to the Thorns by a grateful queen, but feared across the seas. The cartographers now mark Thornhold with a blade, not a crown. Sailors speak of storm sisters and ghost-led ships. They claim Thornhold's silhouette appears on the sea's horizon, even when no land should be seen, a jagged spectre that curses compasses and stills wind. Some whisper that its shadow bends tides, pulling ships toward unseen reefs and vanishing shoals. Others swear the sea turns brackish near its coast, thick as oil, and that gulls never cry within sight of its spires. There are tales of a bell that tolls underwater when a ship dares anchor too close. Its sound not heard, but felt, vibrating in teeth and bones. Sailors claim that after such encounters, their dreams fill with visions of drowning queens and spiral staircases descending into black abyss. Some wake gasping, clutching ropes they don't remember tying, or speaking languages they've never learned. Others never wake at all, their mouths filled with brine and seaweed. Captains who've felt the bell often sail in silence afterward, their laughter lost, and eyes always scanning the horizon, as if fearing a summons they cannot refuse. When a ship dares anchor too close, its sound not heard but felt, vibrating in teeth and bones. One legend tells of the widow's lantern, a flame that dances on Thornhold's highest tower, seen only by those doomed to drown. Another says Thornhold can bleed, sea foam turning red when its mist touches hostile hulls. Some island folk even claim it vanishes entirely on stormless nights, reappearing miles away come dawn, leaving behind only bones and sails. Fishermen whisper of hearing hymns sung in reverse, songs that churn the tide backward and make barnacles peep salt like blood. Those who hear them fall into trances, eyes white with foam, and speak in voices not their own. Some emerge changed, devout to an unknown saint, carving spiral symbols into wood and flesh alike. Others wake screaming, teeth loosened, claiming the ocean sang to them through bone. They say the song promises return, but never says from where, near its cliffs, and dream of shadowy figures carving names into the hulls of boats from beneath the waves. Children born during storms are marked with crescent scars, said to be kissed by Thornhold's mist. There's talk of spectral fleets that sail with no crew, masts draped in veils, hulls made of thorn-wrapped driftwood, and the thorns, always watching from the mists, remain a reckoning dressed in steel. Sister Ryan led the campaign with cold clarity, coordinating coastal strikes with uncanny foresight. Sister Jessa orchestrated the scuttling of the Leviathan's grave, a flagship that had held the blockade for nearly a year. Among the fallen were Sisters Helene, Jorah, and Tellin, who perished in the midnight breach of Duke Seriel's palace. Sister Velen earned renown for leading the successful extraction of 70 prisoners while under ballista fire. Duke Aemond fell to a single arrow through the eye, loosed by Ryan herself in the final retreat. For her service, Jessa was given full command of maritime demolitions. Velen was elevated to War Captain tier. Their names echo in the waves off Halcyr's shores. Jessa granted command over all maritime operations. Valen promoted to War Captain tier. The fall of Gravetree Bastion, year 393 AF, after founding of the Thorns. Commissioned by the widowed Duchess of Varnell, the Thorns marched on Gravetree Bastion, an ancient keep seized by the Pious Sworn, a fanatical splinter order from the embers of the Eastern Monastery Wars. These warriors were clad in soot-stained steel, their faces hidden behind scorched iron masks, and their bodies branded with flame runes that hissed when blood touched them. The Thorns' assault began at dusk, beneath skies red with ash and lightning. The very air crackled with omen. Sister Commander Iha led the strike from the front, wading through oil-lit trenches, strewn with half-burnt bones and impaled deserters. Her battle report, terse and blood-soaked, recounts 2 breaches in the north wall. They lit their monks alive as sacrifice. Fire rained from the parapets. We pushed through, blades low and eyes weeping from smoke. Sister Liane was immolated, dragging our wounded to cover. She screamed once, then kept moving until her legs gave out. She died standing. Sister Isolde took a burning pike through the stomach. Still, she drove her heel into their chanter's skull and made it pop like fruit. The bastion burned with them inside. We lost 6. They lost everything. War journal, Sister Isolde, posthumous. Pain means you're still fighting. The burn only matters if you stop. I didn't. Afterward, the pyres burned for 3 days. Black columns stained the sky. The bastion's chapel, once sacred, was repurposed into a field infirmary where thorns patched their own wounds using melted wax and bone needles. They buried their dead in a ring around the courtyard, weapons in hand, facing outward. The fallen included Sisters Liane, Isolde, Rallis, Kova, Elsha, and Mirren, each one remembered in the Ironstone archives. Sister Therin, who breached the main gate under a hail of flaming pitch, was named war lead for the campaign. Sister Van, who lost her left arm pulling a comrade from collapsing rubble, was recommended for field marshal status upon recovery. Their deeds are spoken in fire-lit circles and whispered in the tongues of smoke. Therin appointed campaign war lead, Van to field marshal upon recovery. The Howling Moor conflict, year 395 AF. The Howling Moors of Nerith saw the Thorns hired to quell the Silvermanes, a hybrid Wur clan known for guerrilla raids on merchant convoys. Lithe, predatory, and half-mad from exposure to the blood moon, the Silvermanes used the terrain like a weapon, burrowing into snowbanks and striking under cover of howl storms. The Thorns were outnumbered, but not outmatched. Led by Sister Malin, the campaign lasted 17 days of blood and frostbite. Wolves were not the only ones that howled. Sister Malin's dispatch reads, "Each night they came. Howls first, claws second, we killed in silence." Sister Drea baited 3 into a false den and crushed them with the ice ceiling. Snow turned to slush from the blood. Sister Jexa's twin blades danced like ghosts. She took down 6 by herself. 1 she flayed mid-spin. They tried to ambush us by crawling under our tents. Sister Marin's scream woke us. We found her torn open, still clutching her axe inside the thing's throat. Sister Eva was ripped in half and still crawling when I found her. We burned their remains by old rite, sang until dawn, our voices raw with grief and frost. By day, they tracked blood trails, frozen in ice. By night, they lashed themselves together so no one could be dragged away. When the Thorns finally located the Silvermane matriarch, she was feeding on the ribs of her own kin. Sister Yexa put a blade through her left eye before the beast could rise. For this, she was awarded the Crescent Fang Medal. Her final tally stood at 13, including the matriarch. Sister Drea, who triggered multiple kills through terrain manipulation, was commended for field command. The fallen Sisters Marin and Ivy were honored with cairns of ice and steel. Their names were carved into the moorstone by torchlight, frost-sealed into memory. Sister Malin's leadership and her sister's brutality left the moors soaked in silence. Yexa was named First Blade of North Watch. Threya was granted the title of Tactical Architect. The snow has never thawed where they bled. Jexa to First Blade of North Watch. Threya to Tactical Architect. These campaigns cemented further the reputation of the Thorns, not just as mercenaries, but as myth. Their names echo beyond the battlefields, carved in ash, ice, and blood. Kings and kingdoms that hire them. While many rulers spit at the idea of swords for rent, driven by deep-seated arrogance, classism, and rigid gender norms, some deride the Thorns not just for their mercenary nature, but because they are women. In these courts, the idea of battlefield mastery by female hands is seen as unnatural, a threat to the established patriarchal bloodlines. Others sneer from behind gilded masks, equating the sisters' pragmatism with savagery, dismissing their discipline as unrefined compared to civilized war doctrines. And among the Eastern empires, whose elite prize blood purity, the Thorns' acceptance of recruits from mixed foreign and former slave bloodlines makes them anathema. Among the most overt offenders, Archduke Van Kelthul of the Urenwald Empire publicly denounced the Thorns as barbarous she-wolves unfit for noble warfare. His court enforces gender-segregated martial ranks, and foreign blood is legally barred from command posts. Kelthul placed a bounty on any Thorn operating in Urenwald territory. 4 attempts to collect ended in body bags. In retaliation, Thorn agents infiltrated and razed 3 Urenwald black sites. Sister Reineth's retort: let him tax the widows we left behind. The Duskward kings of Amathar, a line of monarchs known for their purity laws and noble-only military doctrine. Their propaganda brands the Thorns as witch-born mongrels who defile battlefields. The sisters are blamed for a plague they had no part in. Amathari scribes record Thorn victories as unnatural weather phenomena. The Thorns responded by seizing and redistributing noble caravans en route to a royal wedding. Funds were used to fortify border orphanages. Excerpt from Thorn Log: they fear women more than fire. We bring both. High Cardinal Resseran of the Divine Chain claims the Thorns are a blasphemy of flesh and steel, due to their refusal to submit to patriarchal clergy authority. His sermons urge their extinction. Banned from temple grounds, the Thorns once retaliated by freeing slaves from the chain's compound at dusk. Weeks later, 3 of Resseran's most trusted inquisitors vanished en route to trial a Thorn captive. Their robes were returned to him, empty and folded. Sister Velka's report: we did not knock. We broke the gates with silence. Mission dossiers, retaliations and reckonings. Operation Widow's Fang. Operation Widow's Fang took place in 1291 AR, targeting Urenwald Black Site number 3, known as Verdun Bastion. Sisters Reineth, Morva, and Lysen led the mission to dismantle the Imperial facility that housed Thorn bounty archives and torture chambers. They executed a stealth infiltration via a sewer breach, laced the reserves with poison, and sabotaged localized lightning wards. The operation resulted in 47 confirmed enemy casualties, including 6 Imperial Inquisitors, and critical documents were extracted before the site was detonated. Sister Morva sustained injuries, but later recovered. As a result, Archduke Kelthul's bounty offices were shut down permanently. Debrief, Sister Reineth. The sewers reeked of blood and rot. We moved through silence, but the walls screamed with old memories. When we breached the chamber, Morva took a bolt through the shoulder. Still, she pulled the trigger on our flare to signal collapse. Lyson cried as we lit the charge. Not for the dead, but because she'd seen the files. They hunted us like vermin. Now their names are ash. Sister Lyson, the fire we lit in Verdun still smokes beneath their palace. Operation Crimson Veil, conducted in 1292 AR, this mission targeted an Amathari royal caravan en route to the wedding of Prince Orin. Sisters Jessa, Talon, and Veil led the operation with the goal of intercepting and redistributing elite ceremonial wealth. Using disguise, tactical misdirection, and rapid hit-and-scatter strikes, they neutralized 12 royal guards and successfully rerouted 6,200 sovereigns to Thorn-sanctioned border sanctuaries, aiding orphaned children displaced by Amathari expansion. The mission showcased the Thorns' ability to strike symbolically and economically, weakening both morale and infrastructure of their oppressors. Debrief, Sister Veil. The caravan guards laughed when they saw women approaching in silks. They weren't laughing 10 breaths later. Jessa slit the purse strings, while Talon severed throats. When the bells rang in the capital, they were for mourning, not marriage. I remember the scent of jasmine over blood. It clings to the memory more than steel. Sister Talon, their celebration paid for every orphan's supper that month. Operation Silent Pulpit. In 1293 AR, Sisters Velka, Naere, and a child informant known only as Ember executed a daring liberation mission against the Divine Chain Compound near Sonhal. The goal, to free detained converts and dismantle the chain's embedded slavery rights. By inciting an internal riot, infiltrating in disguise, and navigating a concealed subterranean canal, they freed 42 individuals. 3 inquisitors sent in pursuit vanished without trace. Their ceremonial robes returned to High Cardinal Resseran, neatly folded and untouched by blood. The operation remains one of the most lauded acts of poetic justice in Thorn annals. Debrief, Sister Naere. Ember led us through those tunnels like she'd been born in them. We passed cages made of prayer bars, and the sound, the sound, of people praying to be forgotten. Velka handed the robes back to Resseran with a note stitched into the lining. Not all chains are broken with hammers. The silence afterward was heavier than any sermon. Sister Velka, the chain's grip weakens with each soul we steal from it. Still, the Thorns are prized by the Widow Court of Iresul, 1289 AR. This cloistered cabal of noble widows, known for ruling Iresul through veiled influence and figurehead consorts, engaged the Thorns in a campaign of whispers and daggers to eliminate House Belgrieve's bastard heir and manipulate court succession. The operation, later designated Operation Widow's Web, saw Sisters Helena, Sivra, and Mire navigate the serpentine etiquette of the solstice banquet. Disguised as emissaries, Helena infiltrated the Belgrieve archives, while Mire coerced a steward into surrendering inheritance seals. Simultaneously, Sivra provoked a blood duel as cover. By nightfall, the heir was ambushed under the guise of a bandit raid, and within days, a forged will was declared legitimate. Court unrest faded within a fortnight. 5 sisters were promoted and granted Irizulian passage rings. Mission grade, Silent Blossom, payment, 30,000 sovereigns in violet weight coins and open court access. Sister Helena's note: the deadliest courtiers wear perfume, not armor. Survivor testimony: Court Steward Lorik. I never saw the blade. One moment she whispered promises of mercy. The next I was signing vellum with a hand I didn't know was shaken. They left no blood, but the air stank of endings. Tactical visual: floor plan of Belgrieve Hall with highlighted vault access, banquet schedule overlay, and blood duel court marked in red chalk. The Ashwood Guild of Morn Spire, 1,290 AR, tasked the Thorns with ending a gang war in the shadowed ruins of Blackmire by dismantling the Crimson Eye smuggling ring. Known as Operation Black Spiral, the mission embedded Sister Verus as a relic fence in Boneglass Market, while Kale and Wren conducted sabotage raids on suspected safe houses. 2 initial strikes failed, decoys, but a third led them through crypt tunnels beneath the ossuary baths, where they faced cliff-bound mercenaries and bone walkers. Varys obliterated the ring's ledger cache and collapsed the vaults with ignition oils. The Crimson Eye never recovered. Mission grade, Dusk Steel. Payment included dust coin, weapons, and intelligence tomes. Accountant, Sister Verus. Sister Verus's note: coins clean, hands aren't. Mornspire pays in secrets. Survivor testimony: Crimson Eye Scout. I heard the tunnels breathing. Then came fire. Blue, not orange, the kind that hums. I woke up outside the walls with no memory and a note in my hand: forget or be forgotten. Tactical visual: subterranean map of Mornspire's ossuary baths, annotated escape tunnels, glyph placement markers, and safe house strike timing. Warlord Keren of the Hollow Teeth, 1,294 AR. Commissioned the Thorns in Operation Emberlash to weaken the Jiran Pass resistance. Sisters Mara, Joel, and Vevin scaled cliffside ridges to infiltrate the Rebel War Council. Joel drugged sentries with a mycelial sleep draft. Vevin laid glyph fire charges, and Mara led a lightning execution of 9 war leaders. The camp was ablaze before reinforcements stirred. 3 ridges fell in a week. Mission grade, Firebrand. Payment, 12,000 sovereigns up front, 2,000 per confirmed kill, and salvaged arms. Accountant, Sister Olva. Sister Mara's note: Keren's mad, but pays on time. Will ride his war until the coffers run dry. Survivor testimony: Kieran Scout. Hulun. They moved like wind and fire. I saw one drink the dark and vanish into a blaze. I still dream of the scent, burnt moss and copper. Tactical visual: cliffside ambush map detailing camp layout, cliff fire detonation zones, and retreat routes down the western crag. Criminal Prince Jeren Hollowcloak, 1,292 AR, enlisted the Thorns for Operation Broken Fang to safeguard his coronation bid against rival guilds and political assassins. Dimia, Frel, and Asha were embedded in his inner circle. Dimia was slain by a former Thorn-turned-infiltrator, disguised as a court musician. Asha executed the defector, and Vrel secured the prince's sanctum using a rune-dampened tunnel network. The ceremony proceeded with sisters disguised in the choir pit. Mission grade, Iron Hollow. Payment, 15,000 sovereigns, enchanted gear, and blood vow exemption writ. Accountant, Sister Vrel. Sister Vrel's note: no one weeps for Dimia. She sold too many secrets. Survivor testimony: choir assistant. Rummel. I was tuning the organ when I saw the knife gleam. Asha didn't flinch. She moved like she'd always known the song would end in silence. Tactical visual, map of Coronation Hall, rune dampening tunnel overlay, choir pit infiltration route, and guard rotation wheel. Sister commentary log. Widow's web. Helena. I wore silk for 3 days and spoke 10 lies for every truth. The air kissed my hand, then bled on it. The court never noticed. Myri. Lorik broke before he realized we hadn't threatened him yet. Fear is an artist, and we are brushes dipped in regret. Sivra. The duel was the easy part. Men still think blood is proof of power. They forget whispers wield sharper blades. Journal excerpt, Helena. Eve of operation, the silk chafes. I miss the weight of my blade. Still, they listen when I lie sweetly. One more bow, one more curtsy, and I'll be close enough to taste his fear. Letter from Myre to Sivra, post-mission. You fought like the ghost of a queen. The air never saw your blade coming, but I did. Remind me never to challenge you in anything that draws blood or ink. Sister commentary log, Black Spiral. Varys. They traded memory for coin and names for ashes. Mornspire is a city that eats its own, and we fed it poison. Kyle. The second safe house was a nursery once. We found a doll with iron eyes. I burned it last. Ren. The tunnels echoed too well. I still hear myself shouting to ghosts we never saw. Journal excerpt, Ferris after action. I catalogued the names from the ledger before I torched it. Sometimes I whisper them at night, just to make sure someone still remembers. Letter from Kael to Ren. That doll looked at me. I know it sounds mad, but something of that place crawled inside me. I haven't lit a lamp since. Just the dark and the heat. Sister commentary log, Ember Lash. Mara. Joel laughed when the draft hit. Said it smelled like soup. Vevin danced between glyphs like she'd mapped them in a dream. Joel. The highlands burn bright at night. One rebel begged. I gave him silence. Vevin. My fingers remember the fire runes like prayers. I draw them now when I sleep. Journal excerpt. Vevin, midnight after strike. I etched the last rune with blood. Not mine. It hissed when it caught, like it had waited to be summoned. I wonder what I called. Letter from Mara to Joel. Your laugh in the dark reminded me of the academy. Before scars and silence. If I fall, make sure they remember that part of me. Sister commentary log, Broken Fang. Frel. Dimia played a dangerous game. She forgot we're never just watching. We listen, and we remember. Asha. The blade didn't sing. It sighed. Like it knew it was home again. Journal excerpt. Asha, morning of ceremony. I saw the knife gleam in her sleeve before she moved. Dimia didn't. There's a rhythm to betrayal. I hummed it as I ended hers. Letter from Vrel to Dimia, unsent. You wanted glory, sister. You got legend instead. I wish we could speak once more. No knives, no codes, just names. Enemy factions and internal conflicts. The Pale Brotherhood, a monastic militia driven by prophetic purity, claiming the Thorns defile fate by taking coin for blood. Their founder, Alvorn the Sickle-Eyed, was a thorn once, until excommunication and madness. They consider every thorn death a holy act, attempted to poison a thorn supply line in 1290 AR counterstrike, led by Sister Niva. Result: success. Field note: pale robes burn fast. Red Talon's mercenary guild, founded by ex-nobles exiled for dueling scandals, the Talons compete ruthlessly in every region the Thorns operate. Skirmish at Stonehold Crossroads, 1293 AR. Stalemate. Thorn losses 2, Talons 5. Sister Delka's report: they fight dirty, but not smart. The Black Ledger, an elite underworld banking cartel laundering blood money and trafficking in intelligence. Known for using double agents and honey traps. Exposed by Sister Thais in 1291 AR. Safe house ambush revealed thorn mole. Sister Vera, executed for treason. Council ruling: no room for rot. Field reports: 1292 AR, Northern Icebound Outpost. In the frost-bitten silence of the Northern Icebound Outpost, Sister Maneth led a swift and brutal rescue to retrieve a kidnapped emissary held by cultists of the Pale Brotherhood. Despite sub-zero temperatures and visibility reduced to white blur, Maneth and her 2 accompanying operatives struck under cover of a windstorm. 3 hostiles were neutralized in under 2 minutes. The emissary was located in a collapsed prayer hall, unconscious and suffering from severe frostbite, but alive. The extraction was clean, and no thorn casualties were reported. For her precision and leadership, Sister Maneth was elevated to the Vanguard Circle, 1293 AR, Curran Pass incursion. Sister Jayla led the strike intended to halt a Hollow Teeth warband pushing through the northern Giran ridgelines. The sisters moved under pre-dawn fog, aiming to surprise the advancing force before they could secure a tactical foothold. However, the warband employed scorched path decoys and misled the squad into a glacial ravine, where ambushes lay waiting. A brief but fierce skirmish broke out, forcing a retreat. One sister sustained a shoulder wound from a bone-forged javelin. Though no lives were lost, the mission was deemed a failure due to the strategic setback. Jayla was formally reassigned to quartermaster duties following tribunal review for inadequate terrain analysis and operational oversight. 1294 AR, Sunhall Temple Siege. When the sacred bastion of Sunhall came under siege from the Hollow Teeth's flame-born brigades, Sisters Kala and Even were dispatched to lift the encirclement and restore sanctuary. Navigating a blizzard-struck ridge trail, they descended into the valley under cover of a solar eclipse, using mirrored signals to coordinate with the beleaguered temple wardens. The sisters breached the rear lines with coordinated spellfire and crossbow assault, shattering enemy formation in under an hour. 12 enemies fell. The siege was broken, and the temple's defenders, many of them wounded, were evacuated through a hidden aqueduct path. For her leadership under pressure, Kala was awarded the Iron Thistle, and even received formal commendation for her precision and courage. Ironically, more women hire them than men, and more men regret it than survive it. Ledgers note rising demand among highborn widows, renegade duchesses, and even cloistered priestesses. Still, desperate kingdoms will always turn to those who get results, no matter the blood price. struggles with sexism and misogyny. The Thorns face a world that sees women as decoration, or worse, as burdens to be tolerated or broken. Male generals deride them with venomous sneers. Nobles shortchange their contracts, mocking their legitimacy. Mercenaries leer or provoke, daring them to bleed for respect. And the Thorns meet such contempt with sacred, brutal precision. They invoke the blood warrant, not a challenge, but a condemnation. And when a man utters a forbidden slur or denies their right to stand as warriors, they answer in full daylight. The duel is not sport. It is execution made public. Before his comrades, a throat is opened, a heart pierced, bones shattered under iron heels. 37 times the ground has drunk that price. None have walked away. In taverns, drunken fools still bark slurs, iron mares, thorn whores, thinking themselves clever. By dawn, their teeth rattle in blood-soaked mouths. Some are found, stripped and naked, tarred and feathered. Others, if found at all, are missing eyes, tongues, or entire hands. Trophies claimed without shame. The Thorns are not controversy. They are an affliction in the eyes of the old order. Nobles loathe their defiance. Clerics call them heretics. But armies hire them, because death follows wherever they march. They are living sacrilege, women wielding steel with divine fury, and no master to bow before. Selected blood warrant duels. The Red Fountain of Bravemire, when Duke Han Valcor spat on a Thorn captain during parley and called her a breeding mule with a blade, the duel was invoked before his court. The fight lasted 11 seconds. She split his skull with a ceremonial axe, then offered his bloodied crown to his widow with a bow. Bravemire has not resisted Thorn passage since. The bell tower execution. A mercenary sergeant named Thireh-Nal mocked the Thorns from the scaffolding of Kelt's Market Square, claiming they were whores in armor. He was challenged before sunset. The next morning, his entrails swung from the bell tower he taunted them from, ringing the hour of market open. His mercenary company disbanded within a week. The duel of dust and ash. In the ash-ridden ruins of Viremont, a high priest declared the Thorns were unnatural things sent by the godless to corrupt the faithful. He wore armor inscribed with wards and carried a relic blade. The duel was brutal, lasted nearly an hour. The Thorn warrior took 5 wounds, lost 2 fingers, and still impaled him through the spine while whispering, "Your God watches." The price of defiance, council paranoia. Lord Erevan Seen of Dunholm publicly denounced the blood warrant on the floor of the Council of Crowns, calling it barbarism, cloaked in feminine grievance. He rallied a coalition of clerics and all-blood nobles to pass a decree outlawing its practice, claiming it undermined divine justice and court hierarchy. 3 weeks later, his estate was found abandoned. Servants fled, his banners burned. In the great square of Dunholm, a column of red iron was erected overnight. Chained to it were the noble's remains, jaw torn free, eyes seared out, fingers shattered into dust. Around his neck hung a parchment. Words have weight. The council never debated the blood warrant again. Behind closed doors, whispers turned to wary silence. Some called it divine retribution. Others suspected Thorn agents had infiltrated noble courts. One lesser baron confessed, drunk on sacramental wine, that he dreamed nightly of red columns rising in every city. The High Prelate of Velsira was said to have burned all copies of Erevan's speech. The Lord Marshal of Kravith reportedly stopped training his sons in debate and taught them how to hold a sword instead. In chambers veiled by velvet and gold, one truth echoed beneath every murmured prayer and signed decree. The Thorns do not bluff, and punishment, once provoked, does not end at death. It stains legacy, rewrites bloodlines, and leaves crowns rusting in the mouths of corpses. Counselors began traveling with food tasters and shadow guards. Letters were read aloud only after being soaked in consecrated oil. At state banquets, the wine was poured only after wards were invoked. Let no oath-born steel cross threshold or bone. Some began to adopt Thorn customs in private. Black sashes worn under robes, iron rings hammered flat and tucked in boots, as if invoking unspoken protection. Others funded cultic offshoots in secret, hoping to avoid their names being whispered in the wrong ear. Fear bred reverence, reverence bred mimicry. A year later, Erevan's own daughter joined the Thorns. She carries his crown fragments on a chain around her waist. Thanks for venturing into the storm with me. Every tale in this universe, from the shattered kingdoms to the cursed bloodlines, I write myself. All the art, all the visuals, every drop of atmosphere you feel. That's shaped by hand and pieced together with my passion to create. These stories take a lot of time to make real. So thank you for your patience when the drops take longer than I'd like. If you felt something during this journey, if you got goosebumps, held your breath, or just needed a break from the noise of the real world, do me a solid. Like the video. Subscribe for more and share it with a nerdy friend who needs to touch grass or get scorched by Atlas's lightning. Your support keeps this storm alive.